Hello and welcome back to REV Endurance Sports and episode 3 in a series of videos that I have put into a playlist, or going to put into a playlist, basically power meters for dummies. So I've been coaching people with power meters for, 20 years, since 2005, and then riding with a power meter since 2003. So there is some terminology that is new or different for this particular thing, right? So it's its own little vernacular for its thing, right? So the first one that I wish to talk to you about is watts per kilogram. That's basically what that abbreviation or mathematical thing stands for. And basically it means this is how much you weigh, and this is how much power you're producing in relation to how much you weigh, right? So watts per kilogram. Most of you already know this terminology called power to weight ratio, right? So let me give you some examples of how this translates to being out on the road. All right, so we have 3 cyclists. We have one cyclist that weighs 59 kilograms or about 130 pounds. We have another cyclist that is 70 kilograms, weighs about 150 pounds. And then we have another cyclist who's 100 kilograms and weighs about 220 pounds. So these 3 cyclists want to go ride together. And they all have obviously different strengths, but they weigh differently. And so how do you get these 3 riders to kind of ride together, right? So if they're all using a power meter, one of the easiest ways is to say to each other, hey, let's go up this climb at about 3 watts per kilogram. And that's kind of what I do when I take people along on my training rides. I say, well, most of my climbs, I do them at about 3 watts per kilogram, so let's kind of ride together. So this is how that would translate. So now we have the 3 riders, and what they're seeing on their cycling computers is the top rider being a 59 kilogram or 130 pound person. That person is having to put out 177 watts. Then the other person 210 watts, and then the 100 kilogram person, they're putting out 300 watts. All of these riders are riding at 3 watts per kilogram, but based on their weight, they are pushing a different power, a different wattage. Now, one other thing. This is theoretical because it depends on the bike tires that they're riding, the rolling resistance, the aerodynamic drag of each of these riders. Obviously, the 130 pound rider has less aerodynamic drag, theoretically, than the 220 pound rider. So this is theoretically, these 3 riders can ride together if they're all holding 3 watts per kilogram on a climb. Now, the other reason that this is important is because as I give training plans to my clients, I need to find out what their watts per kilogram is on certain intervals, certain time intervals, a 3-minute interval or a 5-minute interval, something like that. And then I can do some calculations. Wattage, or even just heart rate, if someone just tells me, oh, I did 170 heart rate up that hill, I don't know what that means, because your heart rate is different than my heart rate at the same intensity, right? Unless you're my clone, right? But they can only be one. So that's where watts per kilogram can make a lot of sense. Additionally, the rabbit hole we can get into later is that is how you can put riders into certain brackets by what their watts per kilogram, what they produce per those time intervals that we were just talking about, right? And then last thing before we go, To improve that ratio, you can do two things. You can put out more power, or you can reduce your weight. If you do both, that's awesome, right? So watts per kilogram has these two variables that if you want to become a better cyclist, especially up a hill, then you want to reduce your weight and increase your power. But if you do nothing else, if your power stays the same, because that's it, that's as well trained as you can be, then if you can drop your weight, you know, for example, if someone weighs 174 pounds and they're 5'10", something like that, well, they could probably lose, at least 10 pounds anyway, right? So anyway, that's all for today. I want to keep these nice and short to keep your interest. Please share these videos with your friends, and let's get a community of people that are talking about power meters, how to use them, how you use them now. And if you're learning something from this series of videos, please drop a comment down below. I'd love to see a black heart in the comment section. And please like and subscribe, and we'll see you up the road.